Hey guys, Butts here, and today I want to talk about the updated Perfect Agony keystone in 3.25. As soon as I saw this keystone, I pretty much knew I wanted to make a video about it because I really like Perfect Agony. I've played with it a lot in the past. Not a lot, I've played with it in the past, and now it's twice as strong, so it's like, I think kind of busted now. Uh, Anyways, I do want to quickly apologize that the video quality of this is going to be a little bad, just because I'm kind of rushing to get this together because I'm just kind of pumped. I just want to talk about it. So yeah, here we go. Last league, I played a Locus Mine Power Siphon Assassin that was poison. I was taking advantage of Marylene's Fallacy and this crit multi getting converted into dot multi, which is like 120 dot multi in the previous patch. But now Perfect Agony gives you 100% of the crit multi as dot multi, so this is 240, which, just to put in perspective how much dot multi 240 is, like let's look at some of the poison dot multi nodes in the tree. 6, 6, 10. So it's like if you're taking all of this, you're looking at like 22. You're taking all of this, you're looking at like 27, or that's 29, terrible math. But long story short, you take every poison dot multi node in the tree, you take every chaos dot multi node in the tree, and then even like growth and decay, and you are still not remotely approaching how much dot multi this is. So if you can overcome this downside, um, Perfect Agony is just kind of fucking nuts. Like if you can use an amulet like Marylene's Fallacy. So just I quickly threw together a POB once I saw this change, and this is just a normal power siphon character. It's like level 78, not using increased critical strikes or anything weird. This is a new prophecy wand. It says 59% increased crit chance. That's because POB doesn't have the new base 10 crit weapons. So this would be like a weapon if I just had crafted crit chance from the bench and then crafted chaos damage. That's the whole thing. And as you can see, we are crit capped. We have Marylene's Fallacy on. We just have 4 power charges. And this POB is not accounting for the new Perfect Agony update. So like if I take this, which is the new update, as you can see, it's just like literally an aspect of Carnage worth of damage. It's 40% more damage, and it could get higher depending on how you build your character, but essentially you just get to take all of the crit nodes now. Like we're essentially just a crit build, right? So I don't know, the way you can build this kind of stuff is kind of sick now. Like increased critical strike damage support, great support now. Like critical strike affliction has like literally 30 less dot multi than it if you are Perfect Agony. So yeah, this is just like something you can do. And it's not restricted to doing thing like Marylene's Fallacy plus some like crit chance scaling like kind of thing. There's like a ton of other stuff you can do, like for example, ambush. This is a little bit harder to build, and I think it might be a little clunky to map with because I did League Start and Ice Crash Ignite Perfect Agony build in the past, and it can get a little clunky when your ambush is down. That is going to be very, very true going forward because this line right here, this non-critical strikes cannot inflict ailments. So this means if you cannot ambush, you essentially can't ignite. So that's why I didn't spend a ton of time on putting together a tree for this, but I did just want to like prove how easy it is to crit cap with something like this. Because once again, using Marylene's Fallacy, and I just have the ambush over here. Ambush is an absurd gem, which gives you 35 plus 35 base crit, and then 138 crit multi, which used to be only like 70 dot multi, but now it's just again like 140 crit multi dot multi on top of this. So before we're taking any nodes, just we have 370 dot multi before we've done anything. That is just how ridiculous this stuff is going forward. And we're just taking generic crit. Like Dire Torment's great if you're like a Perfect Agony build, and then taking the generic crit multi sword nodes, which as you can see, these are just good nodes now because we are these are just getting converted to generic dot multi. Like look at this notable, 25 dot multi, 10 dot multi. You know, the best generic dot node on the tree I think is this, 15 dot multi. So as you can see, it's just like if you take like random crit multi nodes, the values are almost twice as high just on average than dot multi. That's usually about how it is. Like disemboweling, 25 dot multi, way higher than any dot node. That's kind of how all of these are. Like if you're a projectile build, like look at these. You know what I mean? The crit multi nodes are just twice as good as the dot multi node. So if you can satisfy Perfect Agony, you get extremely paid off essentially. Just looking at like something else, like I've played this kind of build far too much, so I probably will not play this league. But like if you're like a Molten Strike assassin, you'd be Pathfinder or now Warden. Warden's kind of pushed now. But anyways, I just wanted to put this together just to see what it would look like with doing Ungol's Harmony, because Ungol's Harmony, much like Marylene's Fallacy, is it rewards you for being like obviously rewards you for being crit build, but this is the opposite. It like gives you all of the crit chance if you have tons of sources of crit multi elsewhere, which in this case we do because we are just a Molten Strike assassin with Nightblade, and we're taking all of the dagger crit multi nodes. But since we don't have like a crazy high base crit weapon, something like Ungol's I think makes a lot of sense. Um, this is getting +2 base crit because this base has 8.3 base crit now going forward. Which, and if you had crit chance crafted on this, that might make actually more sense to actually use a Marylene's Fallacy. But anyways, long story short, is Ungol's Harmony is great if you are getting a lot of good dot multi nodes on the tree, and you don't have like crazy high base crit chance, right? Because it's just giving you a ton of crit chance to actually cap. Because you really do want to be capped on something like this because when your ailments don't come off essentially if you don't actually crit. So you really do want to be crit capped. Otherwise, you're just going to kind of deal no damage because like if you're an ignite build and you're dealing hit damage, you generally don't really deal damage if you just like whiff, right? So um, that's like I think super important to actually be crit capped. And then like a build like this build's even more ridiculous with the the perfect agony thing because of how much you get from Nightblade, and then just the generic the dagger nodes because the dagger nodes have so much crit on them. But yeah, so this is literally 50% more damage, like this patch. That's the only change. This patch going forward, this kind of build, is 50% more damage if you just go assassin. Um, and this is okay. So this sidetrack. Molten Strike's about to be absurd this patch because they added returning projectiles as like a enchant or rune word, however you say it. But this damage is literally going to be over double this just because the way returning projectiles work with Molten Strike, it makes more projectiles hit where it's like normally it's like 60 to 70% hit, but with return they kind of suck back into you. So you get like all of them to hit. So I don't know. Without too much effort, this is just like a double T2 weapon with multi-mod on it. And then I think that's literally it. Like this character's like naked other than that. Nothing crazy. You would have, I don't know, probably like 17, 18 million damage on this character. Obviously, this isn't tuned, doesn't have gear. I'm sure you can clean this up a bit, but you get the idea. This is about to be cracked. All right, so this last one's like a bit nonsense, but this is a poison ice sphere self cast build, and it is a Pathfinder. And we are taking advantage of the fact that in this patch they added this new notable called vinespoke cordial, which means if you have an active life flask when you hit an enemy, they don't have 8 grasping vines, they'll get hit with one. So if you're playing skills at shotgun, hit a bunch, like cast on crit, blazing salvo, forbidden right, like all those skills at either shotgun or you're just puking out a bunch of skills through cast on crit or mana forged, all that kind of stuff. You're going to get grasping vines enemies very quickly. And what's powerful about that is because inextricable fate exists, which means that these can now be mapping boots in addition to bossing boots. Because normally you can only use them in bossing, so you have to sit around for 1.5 seconds before you can actually start applying poisons with everything. But since if you play a skill that hits really frequently, you get to just kind of treat this like these are always on, which is incredibly powerful. And that's why I have this nonsense build right here, which is just Ice Sphere because Ice Sphere gets to abuse GMP because it's a barrage skill, so everything hits with this. And then I get to abuse Spellblade, which alongside something silly like Rebuke of the Vaal for a ton of damage. And then since Ice Spear has a bunch of crit multi built into the skill and a really high crit chance, that's just the mechanics of the skill, I'm getting a ton of damage out of Perfect Agony. Like this going forward, if I was doing this, this is like 40%. It's pretty much everything I try with Perfect Agony going forward. It's like 40 to 50% more damage if you build around it. But yeah, I wouldn't exactly recommend this. I was just kind of a proof of concept to prove like the really goofy stuff you can actually do with Perfect Agony. But going forward, if I were to say like what I think is going to actually be like meta or what you probably should consider with this new vinespoke cordial, I think something similar like Caustic Arrow of Poison shotgunning with like GMP Greater Volley or using ballistas for those, Artillery Ballista, Rebuke of the Vaal alongside something like Molten Strike. Pretty much any of the shotgunning skills, because that's generally how this works. And alongside, like if it's bows, it's going to be alongside like just like a tri-ele bow. Probably not this base, but you know what I mean. Just like really big ele weapons, and then probably attacks. You can do Rebuke of the Vaal plus Spellblade on some spells. Like there are a decent amount of spells that shotgun pretty well as well. Like hell, you could even do something silly like Winter Orb because it also works really well with GMP. Creeping Frost, but that one's kind of meh. But essentially with poison, it's going to be just looking for ways you can get big sources of Ellie, like this bow, Book of the Vaal, and then using a skill that you can use something like GMP with, or is in some way just abusable. GMP ideally because that's generally how the most broken poison spells are made. Because once GMP has no downside, it's just a crazy multiplier. Like an ice spear, I assume. Like what is this? Yeah, it's 200% more damage support. Like that's not a reasonable support. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how it is on projectile skills that can shotgun. And so yeah, I would assume that bows, probably particularly Caustic Air of Poison, will be how this is going to be used. But you could also see Rebuke of the Vaal alongside Molten Strike, or Rebuke of the Vaal alongside Spellblade, and then projectile spells, etc. Hell, I mean, you could use Inquisitor, Instruments of Virtue, alongside something silly like this, Rebuke of the Vaal. There's a lot of applications for essentially once everything, all damage can poison. Well, I guess you probably it's going to be mostly restricted to Pathfinder. I don't know how you're going to be able to keep up a life flask on like another ascendancy. So I think you kind of are restricted to Master Surgeon personally. Maybe someone will prove me wrong, and this could be comfy on something else, but I just don't see how in current PoE. Yeah, I think that's mostly it. I kind of went off on a tangent, but yeah, I'm super excited for this league, and I'm really excited about Perfect Agony. I had a league start of Ice Crash Ignite like 5 or 6 leagues ago. That went pretty poorly, and it was like ambushing. So it would smite and then ambush and then Ice Crash, and then you'd use like Fist of War alongside Perfect Agony. And what's really badass, I don't know if you guys saw in the patch notes, but Fist of War also no longer has a penalty for ailments. So it's just 100% more support now for ailments as well. I don't think the Ice Crash, or like doesn't even have to be Ice Crash, it can be like any slam skill, is going to be particularly strong. But it is way more damage this patch going forward. I think it might be a little clunky. We'll see. Either way, I'm excited for different ways to use Perfect Agony. I don't know. It's always cool to have new tools. But all right, I think that's it. I'll shut up now. Thanks for guys stopping by. See ya.